Hey guys, welcome back to the Golf Podcast. It's episode number 411. We've got a lot to talk about today. We're going to recap the Sony. We're going to talk about the American Express. We got some crazy back and forth happening on Twitter. Kevin, we've even got equipment companies throwing shade at each other.
That's for sure.
Right? Between Callaway,
Everyone's
TaylorMade.
beefing.
It's wild. And we just came back. We just had a lesson with Ryan Hager down at Plainfield Country Club. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we dive into all of that, we've got some big news here. Mike, you finally won a bet?
Huge. I finally won a bet on DFS. I'm telling you, man. But guess what? It had nothing to do with golf.
Of course.
So I don't know if you guys were living under a rock this past weekend. It was a huge football weekend, 3 games. And I was just, this is me throwing darts at the wall. I don't know who any of these people are.
Blindfolded darts.
Blindfolded darts.
Yeah.
And basically I was like, hey, I'm going to take a shot at $5 at Amari Cooper, who apparently is a wide receiver on the Dallas Cowboys, to win to have the first touchdown of the game. Look at that, $5, $32. Not too shabby, right? He laughs. It's better than losing. Right?
If you're really throwing blindfold darts like that, I want to know how many bets you lost to win that. Oh my God,
I'll show you that list. But hey, none of it happened at the Sony. I mean, I had like Ha Tong Lee winning, and he came close. He was like in second.
Yeah,
I would have won like $1,000 on $2 or something. But
you'll get one.
One of these days, I'm going to make it rain one of those big ones.
For now, football is your jam. For now,
Football's
at least
my
it's so it
jam,
seems.
man.
But I'll tell you what. Speaking of the Sony, again, more action. I mean, the season just more or less started 2022, and the action is already kicked into full gear.
Yeah.
Guys going low.
Guys are going low. They're hungry to win.
Yeah. But you feel for Henley or what?
No, I mean he won that event before.
He has.
Like that's his spot. He's something about Hawaii that Russell Henley likes.
Right.
He had it. It's tough to sleep on a golf lead, I'm sure. We've never been in the position, but I'm sure it's a very difficult thing to do. And we've seen people blow up before in the final round.
But I wouldn't.
He hung in there to the playoff. I don't want to say.
I wouldn't classify it as blowing up.
I wasn't called a blow up. It was because Matsuyama just ramped it up.
Well, unbelievable.
Yeah. So
like when things you can tell with these guys when things just come together at the right time, and it just did for him. And I think a big motivation for Matsuyama, I think, would be playing in Hawaii. So, much closer to his home country of Japan. You get a lot of people coming over for that event from Japan. So he had in a way, it was kind of like a home game. So he had a lot of of his fans there.
How far is it from Japan? Like flight wise, do you even know?
Flight, what is it, like a 6-hour flight, something like that?
That's not too bad.
It's not terrible.
Yeah, it's not
I think
too bad.
It's about the same as flying from California. It's like halfway, California or from Japan, you're there in Hawaii.
Gotcha.
So they get a lot of vacation, there. But
Zach, put that graphic back on the screen. I want to see that about his number of wins. Look at that. Most wins by players currently under the age of 30. You got Justin Thomas with 14, Jordan Spieth with 12, and there he is, Hideki with 8.
Yeah.
And of course, he's got a Masters.
And we're talking about a guy who won the Masters, which, by the way, I still, we didn't talk about it too much in our 2021 recap, but still one of my favorite moments was having his caddy bowing to the course.
It was one of the biggest moments in golf last year.
That was just one of those moments in sports history just captured in one image that said it all. And I thought that was just incredible.
Just his respect for Augusta.
Yeah. But the playoff, like you're talking about, I mean, talk about, we joke often when we were out there playing, like leaving it all on the field on 18 or whatever. Having the guts to do what he did. I mean, he was like, he sent it, off the tee. He knew, I guess in a lot of ways, like he knew what does he have to lose? Like now's his chance to kind of come back, reach where Henley was, get the playoff, and then he just turned it up.
If he missed the eagle putt, would the birdie have got him the win too? Did he need the eagle to win?
I don't remember.
I don't really recall exactly where Henley.
All I can think about was that 3-wood.
That 3-wood, man. It was 277-yard shot. Man, he put it to 5 feet?
Yeah. And what do you think when you watch Matsuyama's swing? With that pause. Right. Obviously, he generates incredible power. He was like I said, he was sending it off the tee. But what do you think of his tee? Like when his swing when you watch it, does it give you any anxiety with that long pause at the top? I don't know. There's something about it that just it throws me off.
It really does because I sit there and I watch it. I'm like, I don't even know how that one can do that and just kind of pause. Now it's not a long pause, but it's enough to be weird.
Yes, it's just like. it's amazing that he's able to keep his timing that way and his rhythm. I think it would totally throw me for a loop to try to, because we even saw, and we've talked about it here on the podcast before, like that drill that Tiger and Butch Harmon used to have Tiger do, where he'd have to do that pause and literally stop at the top and then go. And Tiger said it was one of the hardest things he had to do. He hated doing it, but it works for Hideki.
And it works well.
I mean, he doesn't do it as long as Tiger did in his drill, but still, I mean, it's just something weird. But let us know what you guys think. Does that, I don't know, does it give you any type of anxiety watching his swing?
Does it give you anxiety?
I'm just like, swing, dude.
There's other golfers out there whose swings give me anxiety.
Yeah.
They're just weird looking, but they work for them. And they're on tour, not me. So
for sure. But let's talk about some of the Twitter beef that went down.
This stuff is great.
Kevin Na.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's one of those personalities that I would, when they say like, who would you like in a pro-am to get a chance to play with? He's definitely one of them, because he's consistent. He's always fun. He seems like he's a good time. But do we have that tweet here we can put up? So Grayson Murray says, Kevin Na taking 3 minutes to putt them, does get old.
That was a response to that. McCabe, Kevin Na walking in putts does not get old. And then it was Grayson said, well, Kevin Na taking 3 minutes to putt them. Now that does get old.
Yeah.
And then there's Kevin's response.
Comes in hard with you missing the cut is getting old. So obviously we've talked about this too. These guys rib each other a lot out there. And sometimes it's hard to read the tone in a tweet that's only a couple of words.
Right.
We
don't know if he
was this friendly or was it not, is what I'm asking.
I think it might be friendly, because you think almost all of the banter is friendly.
Right.
But
was this one of those banters that kind of crossed that line that maybe was just a little bit?
I think maybe. I mean, Grayson's remark looked like it wasn't friendly.
That's what I'm saying. Like, did that kind of like maybe irk in real life, irk Na enough
I think
to
it
say,
did.
I'm gonna come back hard here?
I think it did.
Yeah. Put that tweet back up one more time there, Zach. I want to see like just the tone of this thing. Kevin Na taking 3 minutes to putt.
But then again, I don't know if Grayson Murray is like a Max Homa on Twitter, like where he's just funny and he's just like popping like shots at people.
Well, that's the thing. You always get like at a party, you get that one guy who just doesn't know how to deliver it, and it comes off all wrong.
Right.
I think that might be the case here.
Yeah.
I think Grayson just had no idea or maybe he would have known that this is going to create a little bit of a stir, but like the way that he had the first period in there, after them, does get old. Like,
look at Zach. Look, he's like forensic scientist looking at this. The
grammar. Look, he tried to go.
I love it though. It's great.
He tried to go toe to toe with Kevin Na, and he got knocked out.
Go one more time, because I want to look at the comments. I saw Dylan Fratelli waving here with the laughing face. So maybe it was a joke. Kevin Na from the top rope. Look at Zander golf right there. It's great.
But what ultimately is always the winner is the internet. The internet always wins. And it took 2 seconds for someone to hop in there and change the Wikipedia page for Grayson Murray. And it said died 1/14. Cause of death, Kevin Na on Twitter.
That's great.
The internet, so like we always say, it's undefeated, man. It's just undefeated. That was too funny. And I think we'll talk about it more in a few minutes. We're going to talk about this new Netflix series. But I think that is something that it's going to be very, very successful, because, and this is why I think social media has been a huge gift to all of us as, sports fans in general, just getting a little bit more of the unfiltered, direct personalities from some of these guys. Because some of these guys, they got they're hilarious. We see like you show Max Homa, but some of these guys, you want more of it. And this type of stuff, we just eat it up.
I do. I love this stuff. And, we'll talk about that in a second. I want to dive into that because I want to know what that's all about. I mean, you were talking about the Formula One. I haven't seen that, so I want to pick your brain on that. But just on this, you asked at the top of the show, do you feel bad for Henley? I just pulled it up. Imagine firing a 62 and a 63 in day one and day two of an event, and then a 67 and 65 and still losing.
Yeah.
Come on. 62, 63.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't consider this a blow up in any way.
No.
I think it's just
Matsuyama just happened to play a one stroke better.
And these guys, they're very real about it. They'll say just like somebody was unbeatable that week.
Yeah.
When they get that hot. But on the other side of that coin, did you talk about a guy who was in the mix, but his quote was just, it's too funny. Kevin Kisner, another guy, unfiltered.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And somewhere they had asked him, about winning and stuff like that, and I'm paraphrasing here the exact quote, but he joked and he said they pay too much for 20th place.
Yep.
Like, do you think you? And in a way, it's funny. Again, you're going to get a very unfiltered response from Kiz
always,
but it's interesting because it's like there's so much money going out on the tour right now. Do you think there's any way that some of these guys might be de-incentivized to put in that extra grind? Like, is there some guys who are saying, look, I can put in just enough grind, make my top 50s, make my cuts, and make a good living out of this?
Right.
You know, I don't know. Because there's a lot of these guys, the reason they're on tour and the reason they got there is they're so competitive. It almost doesn't matter if there was money out there or not. These guys
they just want to win.
Leave their soul on the playing field. You know, I think of like Tiger like that. You know, I don't think Tiger was ever driven by money. Obviously, he made $1 billion playing golf, but I don't think he's ever driven by money. Tiger wouldn't, if we were here, we were playing, you know, ping pong, he wouldn't let us win. You know, he's that competitive. But then you get that other personality, which is interesting. It's like Kiz. He's out there. He's having a good time. He's making good money.
I wonder if it's, you know, it comes down to like the guys who just joined the tour. They're probably more money motivated. Then you got the guys who just have enough in their bank account where they're just focused. Yeah. Or like, I haven't won this one yet. I haven't won this U.S. Open yet. I need a major.
I think you see that a lot. When guys get a bunch of wins on the belt, it becomes new things. Like we were talking about this other day, like even Rory winning, you know, the Masters. We think that you're going to start to get a point where they start to set their sights on those notches that they don't have in their belt yet.
Right, like a 4th place finish for Rory at like the Honda. He's going home and he's upset. You know, I think at this point he wants a green jacket.
Right.
Or another major.
But that said, I think there's different personalities and some that no matter what, they're not going to take their foot off the pedal. You know what I mean? They're going to grind just as hard.
That's true.
But it depends. Everybody's motivated differently. I'm thinking, you know, Koepka, who we're going to talk about later on. But Koepka, you know, there's a guy who seems totally demotivated by your regular week in and week out PGA Tour events, but then puts all of his focus into majors. And he said that before. He doesn't even practice for the other events.
Right.
So who knows? But hey, guys, you let us know what you thought on Kiz's take that they pay him enough for 20th that he doesn't necessarily need to be incentivized to go out there and grind it out for the win. I don't know how much of it's true, how much he was joking. Again, you're reading some context between the lines, but let us know your take on it in the comments.
I'll tell you, I mean, I'm not experienced here, but I could just, I don't know. I can say that if a couple of zeros start adding up in your bank account, your motivation level just drops a little bit. I'm sure, you know, especially when the sponsors are throwing money, Michelob, they're throwing money at you, your bank account's healthy, you're about to get married. And I don't make excuses for Brooks. He's an awesome golfer. I hope he wins a ton on tour. I love watching him play. But you can take a step back when things are going your way. And you I don't know. I feel like I'm the type of guy where, like, if I know I need it, like I tell you this all the time, like if I thrive better when I need to survive.
Okay.
You know, like when like
back against the wall guy.
Back against the wall guy. I mean, that's, you know, you tell me my tour card is in jeopardy this week unless I win, you might see me in a top 10 if I was a pro. Like, that's my mentality. And, you know, we see some of those guys who have some wins under the belt. Maybe they're taking the foot off a little.
Poulter a couple of years ago. Remember that? He was in that exact situation. About to lose his card. And showed his chops really quick.
And he won.
Yeah. Winning an event. And it just makes you wonder, like, there's a guy who's got more money than he'll ever need. You go on his Instagram account for 2 seconds, you can tell that with all the Ferraris and everything he owns.
But he was in jeopardy of losing that coveted spot in a game that he loves so much, and he ramped it up. He worked hard, and
there you go.
Did he have to win, though? I don't know the story.
He had to get it wasn't a win, but he had to finish pretty high up.
Yeah, we're going back a couple of years, but he had it was either a top 5 he had to do or something like that to retain his card.
So then he just did y'all must have forgot.
Yeah, one of those.
Basically, yes.
Yep.
So
until he needs to do it again in a year.
Shifting gears, we'll say this: nothing won, no bets won last week.
Lost all the golf bets, but I think maybe football's my new sport to bet on.
Well, you got about 2 more weeks to do that, so might as well get it in now. But speaking of which, locally, we got snow again.
That's right. Another snowstorm.
And we always say we'll play until there's snow on the ground. Well, unfortunately, right now, officially, there is snow on the ground. So we're not out there. We had our lesson we did today. We went down to Plainfield Country Club, which, by the way, didn't have snow. We drove about 45 minutes south. It was tempting. I said, Mike, it's 38 degrees and there's no snow.
You see how it just missed South Jersey and hit North Jersey and us up here. So.
Yeah, but you know, regardless, getting some of that work done indoors. We'll talk about our lesson in a minute. But big news, we do have our first trip of 2022 officially booked. Mike, tell us about it.
All right, we're booked solid, and we are going to Innisbrook. I know we teased it on the last episode, but it's
a first for both of us.
It is a first.
Yeah.
I haven't even been to Tampa. I haven't been to the west coast of Florida, for crying out loud. This is a first for me.
Really? Okay.
So we'll be going over there, and 4 rounds on property, the north, the south, and then their famous island, and, of course, the PGA Tour. Copperhead, which, by the way, guys, we have the Copperhead course to ourselves. It's closed, and the PGA Tour grandstands are up. It's going to be in primo PGA Tour condition. We have it in the best possible condition we want it.
I'm so psyched for this.
I know. Now we just need some sun, and it's going to be warm. 60s I'll take.
It's just going to feel
65.
great to escape and get down there and play some golf. So we will have a lot more golf and matches and things like that coming back to the channel really soon. We may even, depending, if you guys have followed along before on any of these trips we take, we stack them. Because we try to get as much in as we can. We're usually 36 a day, guys, and then whatever else we can do. But if we're able to squeeze any time in there, we might do like a kind of an impromptu meetup. I know that there's a Top Golf down there in Tampa. So one thing I would say is if you're not already following us on Instagram, that's probably the best way to follow along with that. Follow at Golficity, because if we do decide to do anything while we're down there, if we get the time, we'll throw something last minute on Instagram, let you guys know so we can do a meetup. Because now that, every time I say this, I jinx us and the numbers go back up. But as we start to get better with this whole COVID thing, which canceled countless of our meetups.
Yeah, a lot of them.
We're gonna first thing that's gonna come back are those in-person meetups, and we're gonna get together with you guys because that's what we love doing.
Yeah, I mean, this one could be really promising because if it does, it's Florida. Florida's got a little more lax rules. Plus, it's warm. We're going to be outdoors. So I think it could be a good one. And if nobody shows up, if whatever, you and I are just going to have some fun competitions. We go a little heads up at Top Golf. There's nothing wrong with that.
Fine with me.
The other thing I want to try to squeeze in while I'm down there, and the wheels are in motion, thanks to our good friend Rob Labritz, who was on a recent episode. He kind of introduced us to the folks over at Tpc Tampa Bay. That's the course where Rob won his event. So it looked like a great course. It plays great. It's a tough course. There's a lot of water on it. It's a TPC course, which, by the way, do you know what TPC stands for?
I've always thought it was like Tournament Players Club. Or
I don't think anybody knows. Yeah. I thought it was the Players Championship.
Okay.
But like it's not the actual event, but like it's just got the Players Championship mark stamp on it.
Right.
Like the players.
Right, the players. Right.
Not even close. Zach, did you look it up real quick? I'm way off. I think it's.
I thought Frank had it right.
Did he? What did he say?
What did you
I said
say?
Tournament Players Club.
I think that is what it is.
Is it really?
It
is the Tournament Players Club.
Okay. Hey, there you go. Score one in the Frank
means
column.
that a golf course is part of a prestigious network of golf courses around the world. So it's just.
I always knew it was a network. It was the TPC network, and I knew there was something.
Never knew what they stood for.
I don't know. I think somewhere like half asleep in my subconscious, it's because like on one of the simulators, it might have had it spelled out. Tournament Players Club, and that's
so it's not the People's Champion.
It stayed. The People's Champion.
The People's Champion. What is that?
The Rock.
Yeah. Maybe we can get him on the show.
Yeah,
talk about it.
We're playing the People's Champion.
All right, so let's talk about a little bit about this week. So we've got the American Express, right?
West Coast. Let's move over to the West Coast.
West Coast. So the tour now moves out of Hawaii. And
what is this event, by the way? And this event has a lot of history to it. Apparently,
it does, and apparently it's changed names quite a bit,
gazillion times.
Right. So I think going way back, it was the Bob Hope Desert Classic, and I think there was a time where they had a component of a pro-am, right?
They had, I think it was a huge pro-am way back, but before we hit that, this week they have. It looks, by the way, like the biggest party in town. And I love this about PGA Tour events because they seem like they're getting a little cooler where you can come out with the family and what do you got? Concerts. You could see Maroon 5, Brad Paisley. So now you can go there. You can go to a local course. You can go to a show. You're just around. Golf is it's a little more than the golf is what I'm trying to say. We see that at the Northern Trust when we go. They have those little booths and tents set up with all fun things and experiences, the fan experience. And that's what that is.
I mean, I don't know who wants to see Maroon 5 and Brad Paisley, but they're on the right track.
I was going to say, that sounds like a much lower card than
What's a lower card? I mean, you're not going to get, I don't know.
Well, let's put this. The one thing I want to show you while I'm looking at this.
Motley Crue.
Motley Crue. You're not going to get Motley Crue. It's not that kind of show. Okay. Anyway, I think
it's been a
Motley Crue is playing Starbucks down the street right now. If you want to go,
it's been a long day, folks.
It's been a long day. Remember last week or a couple weeks, whatever, I'm losing track too. We talked about money and how much the money has changed over the years. I just scrolled back through this Wikipedia article while you were talking about your fantasy to go see Motley Crue.
Which I have seen live, by the way. Go ahead.
Back in 1960, Arnold Palmer was the first to win this event. Back then, it was the Palm Springs Desert Golf Classic. He won to score 20 under par. He beat Fred Hawkins by 3 strokes.
Yeah,
and his winnings that year was $12,000.
Look at that.
He won $12,000 in 1960. Now, fast forward, last year, it was Siwoo Kim. Which interestingly, runner-up was Patrick Cantlay, who would go on to have a season in 2021. And Kim won $1.2 million.
So a little different in pay.
So the total purse in 2021 was 6.7 million. The total purse in 1960 was $70,000. A little bit of a bump, huh?
A little bit of a bump, and I could see all the turnover of names from the Bob Hope Desert to the Bob Hope Chrysler, the Humana, the Career Builder.
The purse crossed over, the total purse crossed over the $1 million mark in 1988. That's when they first hit $1 million for total purse.
And didn't you say that it was a 5-round event up until 2021?
Well, I was trying to look through some of these scores, and I start to see like 36 under, and I'm like, what is going on here? And they said it's over 90 holes, so it was probably
played over 5 days back.
Yeah,
then.
Some of these too, they play them over various courses, and there might have been like a pro-am component. But what's interesting is I'm scrolling through the money here, right? So I told you in 1988 it went to $1 million, and then by 1997, so 10 years later, it was 1.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
But then all of a sudden, it turns the corner. And I wonder how much of this was the Tiger effect, right? So now you've got from 1996 to 1997, it goes from 1.3 to 1.5 million. The next year, 1998, Fred Couples won. The total purse went to 2.3 million.
Yeah.
Then it went to 3 million the next year. Mm-hmm. So now it's jumping up in huge increments. Just 2 years later, by 2002, it was $4 million purse. And then now we're up just... couple years later, we're up to 6.7 million. This year, 2022, the purse is $7.6 million for this.
It's healthy.
event.
And through all those times, the purse never goes down.
Maybe golf is in a good place.
Seriously.
As
Think about it, all those years and all the issues that have gone on in like the financial markets and like Black Mondays and stock market crashes and everything and pandemics. The purses of golf tournaments just keep going up.
Yeah, well, it's because golf is finally really growing as a game, and it's bringing more eyeballs, and with eyeballs come bigger sponsors. So that's just incredible. Anyway, I just saw those numbers.
That's pretty
ridiculous.
Digress
a little bit,
but speaking of that, like way back, apparently this used to be like the biggest pro-am, celebrity pro-am out there.
Yeah,
lots of people, right?
It was
Zach?
a big one. I think I saw some of the
Sinatra was in it at
Sinatra.
one point. I think a little bit more recent. Samuel L. was in it.
Don Cheadle, he's always in like the AT&T Pro. I think a lot of those people shifted over to that AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am because that's where the Pro-Am is
that's
for
now.
for
sure.
now.
And Lake Tahoe as well.
Presidents, I heard, huh?
Yeah, a couple presidents. I think Dwight Eisenhower was the first president to participate in the Pro-Am. There was one year where 3 presidents played on the same card together.
Wow.
I believe
Wait, can I guess?
Yep. You can guess.
It has to be probably ones that are almost still alive, I would think. So Clinton, because it was named after him at some point.
You got one of them.
Ford? Gerald Ford?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. Look at Zach. Zach's going to Wikipedia.
I can't say because I see it. I have the Wikipedia article.
Well, I got 2. So the other one, so Ford, I forgot the first guy I said already. Oh, Clinton. Was Bush Senior?
Yep, Bush Senior.
Well, I have here Eisenhower was the first U.S. president to play in the Pro-Am.
Yeah, I already said that.
Oh, okay.
So Eisenhower, then the 3 other. But these talking about the 3 that were on the same,
on the same
C sheet. Like they were in the same group?
Yep, with Bob Hope.
That's a lot of Secret Service.
Yeah, I was going to say them and 30 Secret Service agents.
That's a lot of people in a group.
Yeah.
Can you imagine playing behind them?
No, you definitely don't hit into that group.
Playing behind 3 presidents and 80 Secret Servicemen.
Forget it.
Drones overhead.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so it's had some big names over the years.
But hey, it's PGA
and,
West. It's a beautiful course.
Now I feel like this is where the PGA Tour for the year. I know there's a wraparound season, but this is where it starts to like catch its stride a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now we come over from Hawaii, which is a little bit of a vacation and a go low festival,
right?
And now we're gonna have some events in California and eventually
now
move over to
the
Florida, getting ready for that big Florida swing, which we're gonna see.
It's a great
really
Florida
soon.
swing. The Farmers, Genesis, and all those.
Valspar, or is that later?
The Valspar is in Florida.
Valspar is a part of that,
said?
right? Because we're going to be playing Innisbrook just ahead of it.
Florida, you said
I meant
Florida.
California. Guys, it's been a long day, like we said.
It's been a long day.
I'm on the wrong coast. But yeah, the Valspar is at Innisbrook, where we were going to be playing.
That's right.
So
anyway, it reminds me though, we're talking about some of these names that we had a poll. Every once in a while I like to kick the dust off.
You like these polls.
I like to kick the dust off this particular poll and just rattle people up a little bit because it gets so polarizing. But we just had to throw it out there on our YouTube community page and we asked Tiger or Jack, who's the greatest
That's the
of all
biggest question
time?
in golf.
Who is it?
Gets people riled
Gets
up.
people going.
Very surprised by these answers.
1,500 votes, 83% Tiger, 17% Jack. And I think where you see this gets more and more skewed as we go through the years, and Jack is a little bit more distant from playing and people seeing him play.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get guys like our age who didn't really get to see
Right.
Jack play and experience it. And then you get some of the guys who are pulling for Jack, people who are a little older and did get to see him play and all this other thing. But you always get the stats guys who come in and they say the stats say it all. Look at the total number of majors and all that type of stuff.
I look way past the stats. I look at just what they did for the game, and they both did amazing things for the game. But Tiger did even more.
The game would be seriously lacking without either one of these.
Big time. I mean, it's a hard question to answer because, again, I didn't watch Jack play. I feel like it is a big, a lot of the baby boomer population would vote Jack right away because of, maybe they don't even like Tiger or like our younger generation. But, hey, for us, I think just what Tiger's done for the game and what he's accomplished, he does have the most wins all time, Tiger. Or tied for it, at least.
Right.
I don't think he broke through Snead's record yet, but still, it's pretty damn good.
Well, and you always get the debate, people saying, if Jack had Tiger's equipment, yada,
They
yada,
talk about
yada.
equipment, too, but
I don't know.
I think it's all relative because they were all playing with the same equipment.
Right. And I don't know. I think Tiger similarly, if you're great golfers can do great things, it doesn't matter what equipment they're playing.
Right.
I think you could give Tiger, a week with Jack's old 1-iron and he'd be flushing it and he could use it out there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, right.
So it's just like that conversation, I don't know.
You beat Tiger with a balata ball and a 1-iron if you had that? I think he could still beat us.
Yeah.
Yeah. No question about it.
No question about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's a tough one. You guys can weigh in the comments. Let us know what you think on
It's
it. But
just like from my perspective as a little bit younger, there's not much content about Jack. Like not much video. Like if you go on YouTube right now, I could find you probably 4 or 5 videos over an hour long of just the best produced Tiger footage ever. Going back and watching Tiger versus Rocco Mediate.
Yep.
That video, that movie that's on YouTube is just so amazing. And I just assume that there's so many other people like me that may not have seen Jack play, but are watching this Tiger content and just they're like, this guy. How can anybody beat this guy?
Exactly. I think there's just not a much of the coverage out there. I mean, the events weren't even televised in the same way for the length of Jack's career that they are now. I mean, we're just talking about this, like where you're going to have that extended coverage of the early rounds, where we're going to have like every shot with like partnering up with Amazon and all. And this will lead into that Netflix
ESPN Plus.
Right? Yeah. So you don't have that with Jack, but you get the people who are just very stats focused and they'll dive in and they'll look at what Jack had done and how the margins of some of his victories and his his majors. But I don't know. I think at the end of the day, we're just beating our heads against the wall with that debate.
I think so.
There's no way to ever truly prove it, but it's there's definitely a fandom to it. Of who's the greatest of all time? There's going to always be that you put your own kind of feel to it.
Right. I mean, there's also kind of like the famousness of the 2 words Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods is a name that's right up there with Michael Jackson, Barack Obama. You ask anyone on the street who those people are, 10 out of 10 will say, oh yeah, he's the golfer.
Yep.
But if you ask someone, Jack Nicklaus, if they're not in golf, someone might say, oh, isn't that the actor from The Shining?
It's true.
Like, no, wrong guy. But yeah, I mean, he's got more popularity. So.
I think, Jack, Arnie, there were some guys who were bigger than the game, but I don't think anybody was bigger than the game more so than Tiger. I think your point is healthy that at the end of the day, like he's got to be the most well-known golfer of all time. Right there. And I think a big part of that helps him is that the timing of that, we said the coverage.
Yeah.
And the big endorsements, Nike, imagine like now all of a sudden you're in Nike commercials that are played on prime time on every other sport too.
I mean,
worldwide.
I mean, if you can set a massive earthquake ripple effect through social media by just taking one golf swing.
Yeah, like
you
Tiger
are the king.
Recently did, for sure.
Yeah, so.
All right, I'll tell you what. Let's do a quick a break. We'll do a word from our sponsor, and then we're going to dive into. Definitely want to talk about that Netflix Docu-Series.
Yeah, I'm interested
coming
about
up.
that.
That's a good lead into it, and then we've got a bunch of other stuff from the news we want to cover. So let's do a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll hop right into it. Hey guys, this episode is sponsored by Titleist, and the evolution of the T-Series advances Titleist even further in their mission to produce the best irons in the world. New materials, new processes, and new refinements power precision that must be felt to believe. Each model is an instrument of exacting performance passed from Titleist R&D to tour pros to you. The Titleist T-Series is precision made, precision played, and you've got to check it out for yourself. And if you missed it, just the last 2 weeks, we've both released our What's in the Bag videos where we ran through our experience with the new Titleist T-Series irons. Couldn't be more excited about them. Both loving how we're hitting them right now and heading into 2022. Couldn't be more excited about it. So test them out for your game. The Titleist T-Series has something for everyone. Make sure you get fit this season. Give them a go, and you'll thank us later for it.
They're like butter. And I want to thank FootJoy. I want to talk about rain because I've been talking about snow too much. It's like bothering me.
After what happened in my house
Yeah.
with the flood, I don't want to talk about rain.
Well, actually, I'm going to ask you about that in a second. But let's talk about rain. I mean, we have unpredictable and variable conditions is what you can expect in places like, I don't know, Scotland. I mean, whether you're visiting North Berwick or Muirfield, if you're passing through the home of St. Andrews, where we played, traveling to Royal Aberdeen and so Turnberry, you name it. The temperatures vary, but the unpredictability, it always remains constant.
Yep.
You know, and damp weather is never too far off in places like that. And you know, we love to take these trips. You go there, we got to get prepared for them. So it's crucial to layer, have that rain suit handy, that rain gear. When we played the Old Course, it poured. We had the right equipment for it that kept us warm. I mean, that guy, he wanted my jacket. He didn't have a jacket. He was unprepared.
Yes.
The doctor was unprepared.
Thankfully, you had an extra jacket and lent it to our
I did. It's the one I actually brought today, and it saved his life. And I know he's been very thankful for that. So layering is crucial. And as the Scots often say, there's no such thing as bad weather, just bad clothing. So I love that. So go check out FootJoy's lineup of rain jackets and pants. We have them all. We roll them up super small. We stuff them in our bag because when that rain does come, it comes in all different directions. We don't want to get soaked because we are playing 36 a lot. And we are going from course to course. So you want to maintain that dryness, and you just throw these waterproof, breathability, stretchable products that FootJoy brings, and they're amazing. So go to footjoy.com and check out everything that you need for your wet and rainy golf weather.
All right, so we left off there talking about Jack and Tiger.
Yeah.
And again, talking about how as golf, you know, there's new ways to kind of consume it. And we're starting to see, as it becomes even more popular to more broader audiences, you're starting to see things like Netflix and some of these other, you know, content, you know, whatever you want to call them, like, you know, content houses looking for ways to incorporate some of that. And I couldn't be more excited about this. So you got this new Netflix docu-series that's going to be coming in partnership with the PGA Tour. And I think a big part of this is building on the success of the Formula One series. Because here too, again, it not only is it great for us who are already fans, because we get to see that kind of deeper dive and see, you know, a little bit more behind the scenes, inside the ropes, the stuff we always want to see. I think just the storylines themselves will even bring some people who are on the fringe of interest in golf more interested. Yeah. So case in point, you know, you got Zach. Call. Zach watches Formula One religiously. He loves that series. He dives into it. Me, I'll watch it here and there, right? I'm not a follow it every week type of guy, but I dove into the series on Netflix recently because it's like, just popped it on, try something new, and I just got absorbed in the storylines. It's incredibly well done. But Zach, your side of it, you know, from somebody who's a big Formula One guy, what was your take on that series?
Well, more than just being a Formula One guy, I'm a big content guy. I'll look at content, as you know. I'll look at content on YouTube, Netflix. I'm just looking for the best content that entertains me the most. And just the way they put it together was so amazing. And Formula One has so many different storylines going on during the season that as a viewer, after two guys get into a crash on Sunday, you're like, oh my God, I wish I knew what was going through their head when they got into this crash. Well, the show will just cut right from the crash to them talking about, well, I personally thought I was, you know.
But do they follow them off course and go to like their homes?
Yes.
They do.
Yeah,
okay. So we're gonna
for
see a lot
sure.
of that.
Well, and that's where I think you're going to see it explode if you do get another moment like where we were having with that tension that was building between Bryson and Brooks, right? And now imagine if all of a sudden on Netflix, like Zach was saying, the next week you can catch interviews with them talking about it. It's going to get a ton of eyeballs because that's what everyone wants to see. You know, they want to get that drama. And in like Formula One, it's an individual sport.
Yeah, I have a hot take on this docu-series. I actually think that this Netflix docu-series will bring in more non-golf fans than any other piece of content ever in golf. This will be responsible for bringing more golf fans in than since Tiger's big boom.
It's very hard to argue with that.
Are they highlighting a different person each episode, or is it just one massive
It
story?
really depends. Formula One, they will highlight a team or 2 teams per episode. They only had 10 episodes per season, so 22, 23 races, something like that. So you can't really get every race in multiple races per episode. So I think they'll just probably have a bunch of film teams following all these guys, and whoever has the best story, that's just going to be the one they run with, I assume.
Majors, things
I
like
want
that.
to see them like flying to their location, getting ready for prep, behind like what they're eating. I want to see that stuff.
Yeah, well, it was a lot like I used to love those. I don't remember who it was. If it was HBO, whoever did those.
The Hard Knocks.
No, remember they had
Hard Knocks.
HBO Hard Knocks, but then they also do the 24/7.
Yeah, well, they. I don't even remember what it was called. I'm talking about like years ago, but I watched like the NFL, like the kind of like it was like a little story. Like they'd have the playoffs and they'd have all that in between, and we'd get that was the only time back then when we would get like the audio from the coach a little bit more.
Right.
And that, I want to see a little bit more of that. Like you said, maybe it's the prep, or maybe it's Brooks talking with his team and Bryson comes up. But yeah, I agree with what Zach says. Is that people are just drawn to like kind of that drama. So you may not watch the events, the PGA Tour events, but now you're on Netflix, you're surfing through, you get pulled into the drama a different way. And now I have to watch them play on the weekend.
It's true reality television.
Yeah.
Right.
Like you have the Kardashians and you have even like Survivor and stuff like this. It's super theatrical. This is literal reality, and they're making it into the best possible show that they can.
Right.
I just think match made in heaven.
Yeah, can you put the graphic up of who's actually in it again?
This is just a very
This is short,
small.
but it's it's most of the big names.
There's about
I know Steve
25
is up
names
there.
on it.
Okay.
Currently, Bryson is not on it, and I don't think Bryson will end up going on it because that'll probably take away from his YouTube channel. He's got all the content he needs going out to the public off of his YouTube channel.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, I wonder sometimes if the agreement is between the players or if it's with.
It is.
Is it?
I'd still take a Netflix
because usually
deal.
the PGA Tour, if let's say PGA Tour makes an agreement with Netflix, then it's open to all players. I mean,
Well, all players can opt in, I believe, but it's up to the player to opt out.
gotcha.
Got it.
Well, I tell you what. Either way, I'm excited for it. We're going to see a lot more. Like speaking with the roast here.
Yeah, what happened there with that? With Homa and JT?
Yeah. So do we have that tweet? Can we pull up?
Of course.
Yeah, of course he's got it. So
That's great.
Max almost says, "I can't believe I'm gonna be on Netflix." LOL. And this is what we talk about, like with these guys, like always ribbing each other. JT couldn't let that slide. Comes back with what did you do with all the time you saved typing "I'ma" and not "I'm going to"?
That you could tell was a friendly jab.
That one
with
for
no
sure.
meanness at all behind it. I love it. That's the stuff.
But
I love.
again, all this is what we get at these little flashes of these guys' personalities, and I think this is what I think I enjoy the most is that they're not just athletic spectacles. These are people with personalities and nuances that make them who they are.
Right.
And I love getting a little bit of insight into their character. So whether it be that you're a fan of someone and you want to go deeper and understand them better as a person, or maybe it's just you become like you start watching the Netflix series and you become interested in them as a person, and now you want to see their performance. And I think that way it'll lead into more people watching golf.
It's smart all around.
Yeah.
And also, I guarantee you that this Netflix show is going to make you guys fans of players that you weren't fans of previously. Like if you were going into an event and be like, oh, I don't want to watch this because Patrick Reed, like I'm not a big Patrick Reed guy, but he might be on this show and he might show a side that he's never shown to anything else. Personally, like with the Formula One show, I'm not a Ferrari guy at all. I'm Mercedes till I die. But but this show made me like Ferrari, and it gave me a better appreciation for that team. And I just think it'll be similar with the PGA Tour.
I would not be surprised. But speaking of stories, the other thing was this week, this Big Mike passport story.
Yeah.
I know you were following it pretty closely, Mike.
Yeah, so Big Mike Visacki, Zach and I were chatting about this earlier. It's an incredible story where, he gets invited to this Corn Ferry event in Bahamas, Zuma, and he's the 25th alternate in the event. So you're far out of it. You're not playing it. You're far off. But he didn't have his passport, and it was in process of coming to his house. Well, to shorten the story a bit, the passport finally came. He calls his caddy. He jumps on a plane.
Because while this is happening, he's moving up.
He's moving up. He's moving it up, and I believe when they got on the plane,
he didn't have his passport when he got up to, I believe, 4th or 5th
That's right.
on the alternate list.
Then
and
it showed
still
up.
had no passport.
And that's when it's getting real.
getting
You're
real.
4th or 5th on the alternate list. There's a chance you're going to be playing.
Like I might be in this event and I can't get there.
Right.
Right. So he calls his caddy and he says, "Hey, let's go." They jump on a plane. I believe he tweeted a photo from the plane that we have here, right, Zach? Where I believe he jumps up to first alternate. He writes first alternate life for the Corn Ferry event in the Bahamas. So he got his passport. He jumped on a plane. He made it down there. Mm-hmm. He went there. He went to the event. He was on the range. He was watching guys hit, and he said that as things started to progress, it was slowly becoming a bummer because he did not end up getting into the field. He waited. He was the next one in line. He needed one more person to drop out. It didn't happen to him, and then there's this long story there on the screen. I'd love to get him on the show to talk to him about it, but he ended up just said he went to the beach to relax. Just to kind of take his mind off it. And then to make matters worse, he lost that passport in a taxi heading back to his hotel. And they found it. Someone found it, returned it to him. He was able to get back on a flight to get home to Miami. I mean, all that trouble, and he got a couple hours on the beach.
It's wild. And that right there is a perfect example of imagine Netflix was following him for that.
Exactly.
But even if they weren't, this is where I think some of these guys, like Big Mike, right? So this guy is already he's been in the news a few times. We had it where Justin Thomas gave him some money in order to keep playing and stuff like that. Guys like this, I think one thing that I think Bryson is doing so well, and I think it's a missed opportunity if these guys don't do it, is document it yourself. These are such interesting stories. Right? You may not have to be part of the Netflix series. Somebody like that, get a YouTube channel.
That's it. I would have called my caddy. The next thing I would have called my videographer. I would have been like, "Hey, we're going to do this. It's going to be an epic story.
Hire your wife's nephew who's good with a camera and be like, buddy, I need you to launch this YouTube channel for me. Follow me around." Because that's where where some of these players have a benefit that people in the past didn't have. And that's this opportunity to create content around things that are so interesting to the rest of us. Like, we want to follow this along.
I would have loved to have seen that story.
We had enough just enjoyment just reading through his Instagram post where he typed out what happened.
Exactly.
Imagine if that unfolded over one or two YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I'd be glued to it, watching, is he going to make it? Is he not? You know what I mean? So it's just like, I don't know. To me, it's a missed opportunity because some of these guys, they could, in a lot of ways, they could probably supplement their own income as they try to work their way. Because a lot of these guys, it's a losing proposition when you're in those lower level tours.
Yeah,
you're not usually. Maybe you're making back what you spent.
Maybe
it's an investment to try to make it to the big show.
It's hard, man. But that goes back to our debate about MLB still being the toughest. I mean, the grind it takes. Look, the guy he got all the way to that position. He still didn't even make it. And we saw him at a PGA Tour event not too long ago. So he got up to the grand stage. Yeah. And then he kind of drifted backwards. But I want to know, how. I
want to see a YouTube channel, Big Mike's Journey to the PGA Tour.
Yeah.
And I will follow weekly episodes of that. Give me a video every week, just a quick update on something like this. This would have been like the real.
All right,
banger.
Zach, get him on the show. And we're going to tell him that he's got to start a YouTube channel.
Right.
All right. We're going to tell him how to run his life. We're going to run his life for him.
I can do that.
You start it, or we're going to start it for you?
No, start it for you because I love his story. I think he's he's a lovable guy. He had that emotion, those tears when he called his dad when he got it. Like I'm glued. And then JT hands him that check, that kind of that sly in the hand check that no one saw. Yeah. By the way, how much do you think he gave him?
That's a great question.
10K, 20K.
I feel like
I think it's maybe 25K.
I think 25 is the number. My guess. Let us know your guesses in the comments below. It was never revealed exactly how much JT gave him, but I think 25 is probably enough to keep someone going on the Corn Ferry for a while. You think about they're paying those expenses, hotel rooms, travel,
There's
entry
people on
fees,
staff. Yeah.
I think so. A lot of those guys, the staff is not many. It's just them and their caddies.
It's probably at that point, it's just them and their caddy.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, it was cool. But it just shows you too, like some of these guys like supporting like JT and I don't know. I just think it'd make a great story, and I want to see more of it.
Yeah, same. And what doesn't make a great story is a pipe bursting in your house.
Ugh.
So what happened there, man?
Let me tell you something. I have had enough of. I see this every year, and it always happens in the comments. You guys comment, you got to move down south. You got to.
That easy.
I get it, okay, but like we got our whole families here. Well, one thing that is we don't often talk about. Mike and I were cousins, right? We've got such a big family. Our parents, our fathers are brothers, and they have 100 first cousins. That's how big of a family that we have in this area. So it's kind of tough to move. That I digress. Either way, I hate winter. So we had an incredible cold snap here in New York. It was in the 9 degrees, 7 degrees. You know the type of cold where now all of a sudden your social media feed is filled up with everyone snapping pictures in their car of the thermostat, showing you how cold it. That's how cold it was. So I had a pipe freeze up in my bathroom. My master bathroom, the sink freezes up. And it had done this before. So I opened up the cabinets, trying to thaw it out, get some warm air in there, and it had given me trouble before, but never like this. So now my wife and I, we're in bed, we're sleeping. It's 1 a.m. My wife wakes me up, and this was the night where it snowed a lot, but it was going to turn over to rain because it was warming. This is where it was warming up.
So the weatherman and you just...
Warm, thaw, yada, yada, yada. We hear what sounds like torrential rain. My wife wakes me up. She's like, what is that? It's raining so hard. I'm like, they said it was going to switch over to rain. I'm like, go back to sleep. It's fine. It's
weather
raining.
Report. Yep.
Right. That's me. She goes, are you sure that frozen pipe didn't burst? That's all I need to hear. I jump out of bed.
Wait, she said that frozen pipe? You knew it was frozen?
Because we knew it was frozen. Because and it does this often. When it gets really cold, this particular pipe freezes.
And there's nothing you can do about it. Just hope and praise it gets warm.
I just try to defrost it. You know what I mean? But I couldn't get it defrosted. It was so cold. It's on the exterior.
Got to get some insulation on that pipe.
Tell me about that. The plumber told me all about. But anyway, I don't know. We just moved in the house not long ago. I didn't build the house, so don't blame me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I jump out of bed. I go in my bathroom. There's like an inch of water across the whole floor.
Okay.
Now I'm thinking, what's below this bathroom? I run downstairs. Luckily, it's not like a living room. It's the garage is below it, which is part of the reason why it froze up. And I hear the water, and now it's coming down. Not like a waterfall. Right now, it's mostly absorbed in the ceiling, but it's dripping down in a steady stream. And I got a pretty decent sized garage, 2-car garage. And in fact, I have these ideas this winter. I was going to put a mat and a net down and start using it as a practice area. But out of the whole garage, where's this one stream of water coming down? It's directly on my golf clubs. I've got so much stuff in there. The kids' bikes, both cars, everything else. It's just the one little footprint that's my golf clubs.
Like and going in the bag and everything? Water.
Yeah. Oh, so I immediately moved that out of the way.
Right.
And I ran downstairs in the basement.
This is all, 1 o'clock in the morning?
1 o'clock in the morning. I shut off the main water to the house. Oh, now we got no water. I'm calling emergency plumbers. Long story short, great guy. This local plumber bailed me out the next day. He fixed it. He had some insulation. Luckily, not that much damage because, like I said, the water went into the garage.
Yeah, lucky.
I got lucky. And my golf clubs, I'll report, are completely fine.
Okay.
I immediately after shutting the water off, the first thing I did is in the garage at 1:30 in the morning, drying my golf clubs off. Because
I can see you trying to resuscitate the Bettinardi.
Golf is life, and it has to happen that way.
Yeah.
Did you take swings to try and dry them off?
No, I didn't take swings. But I did. I dried it all up, and I'm like, okay, I've got to move on from this. But another reason why I just I hate winter, man.
Yeah, I know.
I hate winter.
I feel like though we're only like 8 weeks away. Like let's just get through it.
And this getting down to Innisbrook will be a nice break.
It will be.
Frank, hold on. Did you get any content? Did you take any pictures? Did you get any video, anything of the water falling on your clubs?
I had thought about it.
Come on.
I'm not going to lie that I had thought about it, but no. If I got water actively running on my clubs, I'm not pulling out my camera. The first thing I'm doing is I'm moving those golf clubs.
Right.
And I'll tell you what, I was in that, that half daze you're in when you get woken from dead sleep at 1:30 in the morning. That's where I was at. And my brain is working at about like a quarter of its normal speed trying to problem solve like what is happening.
And I bet that water was cold.
Cold and loud. Like so loud. It was just...
Bravo for you for knowing where the main water shutoff is in your house. I don't know where those things are.
Mike just calls the fire department and leaves.
When a light bulb goes out, I call the fire department.
He sets a match, calls a light up, and then he leaves. Just get the insurance and get a new house.
Well, hey, I'm glad you determined the issue. Now you better insulate those pipes. I think he took care of it for you.
He helped me with some
right,
insulation
good.
while he was up there. But anyway,
Jeez.
Speaking of which, that's why I'm so looking forward to Innisbrook getting down there.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, one thing that the only saving grace of winter is that I find that it gives me that space to work on my game a little bit. Some other stuff you get wrapped up in the middle of the season, you're not going to work on it. So stay tuned for this because we'll have some new videos out, for the whole experience. But we both got to work with Ryan Hager today.
Yeah, that's right.
You were working on your swing speed and formalizing working with the swing speed trainers a little bit.
Yeah, I did the super speed training that I've always wanted to do with the coach and someone that I can. Like I said in the video, I've done it once when we were at Demo Day down in Orlando when I just kind of tested it. So this time I wanted to go through it with the coach and then learn the proper way to do it and now continue to do it for the next few weeks. So he said it's not going to work if you do it once. It's like anything else. You just got to keep doing it and doing it. And we had that big aha moment right away.
Yes. It shows impressive results right away, but
does.
He said those results will wane if you're not constantly doing it. But he said if you put this as part of your, and it's a perfect thing for the off season because you don't have to hit a golf ball.
Right.
You're just swinging I don't know. Super speed, I feel like, is one of those things. It's not a gimmick because I've seen more and more of the, really great coaches that we work with are all using it in some way.
Yes, they are.
And it seems to work. So I'm excited to see, and we'll keep checking back on your gains with it. You've got a set of super speed.
I got a set. I was able to hit 119.2 with the driver. It was one of those like swing out of your shoes type of thing. You wanted me to see how hard I can hit it. But I got what's great today, I learned about my golf speed.
Right.
Ryan kept saying, well, my swing out on the course is X mile per hour, which shows you like in competition, in play. And I want to get my golf speed, I guess, consistently around that, 116, 115, 116. I went in at 113 was my baseline.
Yeah.
So, very interesting stuff. So
it was great hearing, Ryan talk about like that whole like balance of control and speed and how this kind of helps unlock a little bit more speed and how each of us as players kind of have a ceiling. So it was just good to even go through the exercise just to know where your ceiling is and what you can do when you need to dial it up. Again, like we saw Matsuyama do when he wanted, force that playoff, he dialed it up a bit. And in that case, it paid off. And then I got to work a little bit on my swing sequencing, which we'll talk about a lot more, and you'll see more on the video. But again, I'm just trying at this point in my golf game, my goal is to just check off some of those spots that I feel like I've been plateaued or hung up for a long time.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm happy with the way I play. I could play this game for the rest of my life at a 10 or 12 handicap and be happy with it.
Same.
Because I just enjoy getting out there, playing, the little friendly competition, that type of stuff. But on the same token, I know there's certain stuff, plateau, just got to get a little bit better. And one big thing, and again, this is why I love when we do those challenges. Like we did that 3-club challenge recently.
Right.
And that video will be out in just a week or two. And there were some spots where I didn't have enough club for my shot. And I noticed whenever I try to overswing it or try to put a little bit more on it, my sequence gets out of order, meaning I often will start the downswing with my hands and arms instead of my lower body because I rush it because I try to like smack and like hack at the ball.
Right.
And it causes problems in various degrees. But it's that frustration you get when you see consistency kind of go out the window.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, where did that shot come from? Bad shot. So I've said it a billion times. In 411 episodes, I've been saying this for all of them, saying there's no magic bullet. We talked about that with Hager. There's no magic pill to take. He's like, it's all about working on those fundamentals. And one of those fundamentals is the sequence in which you do your golf swing. So I'm going to work on that. And he's like, the hard part with working on sequencing, he goes, it's not like if you had a club face issue and I just showed you really quick how to square the face and all of a sudden, aha, moment. Like
right.
Your kid is right. He goes, this is more so, this is like where you're playing that, like, it's like a more boring fix. Because he said, you won't notice it at first because it's just that you're going to hit less bad shots.
Yep.
So he's like, where you're going to notice is when you're on that 15th hole in the round, you'd be like, oh, I haven't hit a bad shot today. You know what I mean? That's the difference. But still, just like you're doing, for me, it's going to be putting the work in. He gave me some great drills to use.
He did with those alignment sticks.
Yeah. Yep. And so I'm going to use those throughout the winter, and I'm just going to work on that consistency. There's nothing flashy or sexy about it, but you get it working.
It will go a long way for you.
You lose those bad shots.
Absolutely. And, back on the swing speed thing, the one thing that really, rang true for me was he was talking about how he's like, hey, before we even do this super speed training with these sticks, he's like, I can show you how to increase your swing speed just by making better connection with the ball. Transferring the energy, hitting better contact, swinging up on the ball. I mean, you'll probably just increase your swing speed, just swing better. But we said, but that's a conversation for another day. Let's just hop right into it. So, a lot of great stuff. We didn't have enough time to get it all in, but about an hour each there.
I also like those singular focus, like
big time.
Just focus on one thing, get better at it, work on the next thing as much as you can.
For sure.
All right. Anyway, a couple other things we gotta dive into some stuff from in the news this week, real quick.
Yes.
One
this
thing
one was great.
I loved this. Callaway winning like tweet of the year. They already. We're only a couple weeks into 2022. They win tweet of the year. They come back at TaylorMade, who's been having all the headlines lately. And they said, throwback Thursday to a carbon face driver we released 20 years ago. Our face technology has moved on quite a bit since then. Ouch. Right? Because, obviously TaylorMade's really trying hard to push this narrative of, carbon wood and moving on from titanium to carbon fiber in the face. Mm-hmm. And that's where, Callaway is kind of just saying, that's just a, kind of dusting off of an idea we did years ago.
Right.
Look, I think at the end of the day, there's truth to it on both sides. There's no doubt there's going to be a bit of marketing. It's their job. They're going to take whatever technology and they're going to really try to put that real emphasis behind it. Like, this is revolutionary, right?
Yep.
But there is also still stuff that is revolutionary about it. The reality is, do I think now that everybody's going to switch over to carbon fiber? No. Mm-hmm. I think if you distill it down to its most simple basics, when you think about a drivers that have thinner, stronger faces are going to go further. Mm-hmm. And as we see companies putting a stronger focus on better materials, better manufacturing tolerances, they're going to be able to squeeze out a little bit more ball speed. Yeah. We saw this with our TSI drivers. They're sourcing that material locally from Pittsburgh, and they're working. You're finding like that's where a lot of the advancements are coming. Is they're working with the raw material guys to make that material perform as best as it can be, so that they can get it super thin and super hard, and they're able to get that face that acts like a spring. That said, I think they're getting so good with all of these different, whether it's titanium or carbon fiber. I don't think one is going to win that battle.
Right. Same. I agree with that.
So I think that, there's a lot that is really cool. And we're seeing a lot of people having some great success with the new Stealth over it. But I think Callaway adeptly pointed out that carbon fiber in the face is not something that's new. They did it 20 years ago.
And I love those tweets because I see those a lot on Twitter when like McDonald's goes at Wendy's.
Yes.
It's awesome. And they're harsh. There's nothing friendly about those tweets.
No.
Right.
But I feel like in the same token, they all win. They both win.
They both win on those.
Because you get the diehards who do just, get behind their company of choice.
Yeah, right, Zach?
Right? Yeah, I think somebody put in the in our newsroom chat, in our Golficity writers chat, that it was pretty funny because the Callaway driver, I think somebody said that driver ended up getting recalled.
Really?
The new one?
No.
Oh, the one back then.
The one back then got recalled or something like that. So it was just kind of like they're taking shots over a
recall a driver.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something I remembered from the chat.
Well, who knows? Whatever it is, they're going to continue this quest to make these driver faces thinner, and what do you call it? And just they're going to be thinner, lighter, but stronger.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, the next thing I want to talk about was congratulate Rick Shields here in a second. But I think Rick put it the best. I mean, I saw his recent video with the Stealth, and he said that one way to think about it is like the more the weight you can take away the face, you can push back on the driver. And he said it's like if you had a car that crashed into a wall, and you take the same car and load up the trunk with a bunch of bags of sand and crash it, there's more momentum, more force, Mm-hmm. And Rick does a great way of explaining stuff that's easy to understand in that way.
That's why he is who he is.
That's why he is the first, golf YouTuber to reach 2 million subscribers.
2 million YouTube subscribers. And, when we went out to YouTube Golf Day out in May of 2019, our first trip to England, our first time ever meeting Rick, we had him on the podcast back then. And I believe he was like 800,000 subs. We're talking 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And, COVID happened and Golf World blew up and Rick just kept pounding and pounding. And, kudos to him. He's worked his tail off and he deserves all 2 million of those.
100%. He's brought, golf to so many people through his platform. And now even his golf show that he recently launched has grown tremendously. So in a lot of ways, he's been a huge trailblazer.
He really has.
We can't thank him enough for how he welcomed. At that time when we did YouTube Golf Day, we had maybe 11,000 subscribers on YouTube,
barely,
which
right.
I'm very proud of. I don't think I'm going to scoff it, but on the same token, it just shows here's somebody in his stature on YouTube at the time and welcomed us, with open arms and brought us in and
did so much work to put that event together. Right. And he took the time out of the day, which he was doing a million things that weekend, and he came up and he sat with us for an hour to come on the podcast. And Rick, I'd love to have you back on the show because I want to ask you about all this exciting stuff that you've been doing, because I'd say this guy's the godfather of golf YouTube, right?
I would say so, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wish him all the continued success. I can't wait to see that be
5
million
10
subs.
million. Yeah, let's go.
And I'm sure he will get there because he continually produces some very, very high quality content.
Yeah, really cool. And they did a tribute for him at St. Andrews. I don't know if we put that on the screen yet, but someone etched it. There it is. Congrats, Rick Shield, 2 million YouTube subs. This was the same artist who I believe did that same etching for Tiger Woods when he got into the car accident. Like, get well soon, Tiger.
Yeah. How many hours do you think something like that takes?
Let me see that. Go back to that because you can see
it's huge.
You see where he starts on the bottom right? That's like he gets where he goes off. That thing must have took a while. Hey, let me ask you a question.
I love the blank spots. He must jump.
Yeah, he just jump.
Yes.
Right.
Is that what the question was?
No, it wasn't that.
Okay.
But I was thinking that. I was like, how does he get from that spot to that spot? But when we get to our 2 million subscribers, where do you want, what beach of what golf course? I mean, it's hard to beat that.
I think I don't care what beach it is as long as you personally do it.
Done.
And I get a time lapse of watching you do it.
Done. And we'll have Zach run drone to watch me do it.
He would get through the C and congrats and be like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm done.
I'll call the fire department.
He'd light the match and call the fire
There
department.
it is.
Done. Out of there. All right, before we wrap up this week's show, we got to do our Bank It or Shank It segment. We're having too much fun with this each week. And we launched it last week. Basically, are you banking it or are you shanking it? We're going to run through a couple of rapid fire here. And by all means, you guys weigh in with your own Bank It or Shank It in the comments below. So,
I'll take us through this one.
Let's do it.
All right, Frank, you're up first. Links courses, bank it or shank it?
Bank it all day. I don't want to meet the person who's shanking it for links courses. I love links courses.
Yes, I'm with you too. And we play Balliol, and there it is. Speak of the devil.
Yeah.
There's a course we love
Which is
here.
not even a true links
course. It's
course.
not a true links course.
It's a links
but
layout.
it's like the closest to links we get here.
Yeah.
We played the West Links up in England. And I'm not even
to be a true links course, it's got to be next to the water. Because that's where I learned this recently. That's where the name comes from. It's the land, the earth that links the sea to the land. It's
Listen to this, guys.
The links.
It's great.
But I love it. I love that it's such a test of golf, a true links course.
It is. Where I don't like them and their biggest protection is that fescue.
It's usually the wind.
The wind. I'm sorry. I shouldn't. Yeah, the wind. But most of them are guarded by ridiculous fescue.
Yes. Or that incredible rough that still gives me nightmares from West Langs.
Yeah.
If you weren't in the fairway that day, just add 2 strokes to the hole.
That's where I probably used the wrong word, but that's what I was thinking of. We dropped those balls; they were just disappearing.
No, but you're right. Like I'm thinking, like Ballyon is fescue. A lot of them have fescue too. But whatever.
You consider that rough then at West Lakes, huh? That was the rough.
I didn't consider that fescue because it wasn't like
so
that
tall
wispy,
and
tall
disgusting.
stuff.
Yeah,
it was that gnarly green.
Yeah, you're
heavy
right.
Stuff.
Like Ridgewood.
Ridgewood was just thick rough.
Right. Picture
thick rough. Right. That's what I'm trying to see. What's the
what's the difference there?
So picture like like the type of like grass stuff you get like in the dense forest, or it's like kind of like it's not like one strain, it's growing in all different directions. It's wild. It's truly wild.
I see what you're saying.
That's what that was.
It's grabby.
Instead of like that very manicured PGA Tour rough that we got at Ridgewood, this is like that just like gnarly, mangly,
you're just
knotty
hacking
stuff.
hacking out of it.
But like if you pulled it up straight, the grass is probably 8 inches, 10 inches long. It's like that.
Right.
So
Gotcha.
we were happy if we found our golf ball.
Okay. All right. Well, we both like links courses. We're banking it. Let's move on. Zander Flay, is he winning a major this year?
Yeah, I'm going to bank him winning a major. I think he's got the chops to do it. I think he's got the game to do it. He proved it with the gold medal. He was able to. He rises to the occasion. This is a guy that I could see winning a PGA. This is a guy I could definitely see winning like a. I know it's not a major, but the Players.
Yeah,
I think he's got the chops.
I think he has the chops, but I'm going to shank it. And I'll tell you why. I think there's just bigger names out there. I think like guys like John Rahm, JT. There's other names out there, Bryson, that I think we might see holding some major trophies this year. I mean, I'd love for Zander. I'm a big fan. Love watching him play, but I'm going to...
All right, so sidebar, bank it or shank it for you. Who wins a major first? It doesn't have to be this year. Is it Zander or is it Morikawa? Schauffele or Morikawa?
Morikawa has one already. Or two. He's got 2.
He's got
PGA Championship at Harding Park and the Open Championship.
Right.
Zander has none.
But he's got the gold.
Who wins the next one?
Who wins a major first out of the two of those guys?
I'm gonna go Colin
Okay.
Me too.
because he's been there before. And I want to see Zander win it. I wanted to say Zander, but I just think it's Colin.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What or where do you guys hold an Olympic gold medal compared to a major? Personally, me as a ski racer, the Olympic gold medal
It's gotta be high up
was
there.
the peak.
Yeah.
That's the
it, right.
pinnacle
'Cause there's no
of athletic
trophies for that,
achievement.
right?
Yeah, but I'm just saying in general, like in any sport, I think an Olympic gold medal is the peak of athletic achievement.
medal
What do you
representing
guys
your
think for
country?
golf?
Ooh, good question. I think for a lot of these guys, it's in a pinnacle. You hear guys talking about it. Like I know, like remember Ricky Fowler got the Olympic rings tattooed on his arm, and some of these guys at the end, and we talked about this before about how like money, you've got enough at some point in some ways, and it's like not as much of a motivator, and the motivator becomes winning for their country. I think that, but I think if you really distill it down to strength of field, I think the harder thing it almost seems is to win a major. Now you could say you get more at bats with majors.
You do?
Because you play 4 every year instead of one
Every
every
4
4 years.
Right.
I get that. But if you look at the fields, like, there's incredible golfers who go over and play in the Olympics.
It's
but
a tough debate.
the majors, I mean, it's
a
the
tough
top in the
debate.
world every time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool pickup line if you're single. Yeah, I got a gold medal.
Yeah, but wouldn't
Come on.
Right.
But wouldn't the best players in the world still be playing in the Olympics? Wouldn't it just be? Wouldn't it
It
just be?
depends because you can only send a few from each country.
I understand,
But
but
if you're
aren't
the
they
best.
sending the best?
They are sending the best of that year.
They're saying, but
Of
let's
like who's
say,
currently trending. It's like the Ryder Cup. Like you could be
Right.
great, but you didn't make it.
right. So you could get a top 50 guy who doesn't make it, but he could be in a major, and you know what I mean. So
Like Bryson's just not in the top 5 for the USA, but you'd be like, why is he not in it?
right.
So I mean, I don't know. That's a tough one, Zach. It's a tough gold medal or a major.
We'll
I don't
let
know.
you guys weigh in the comments
Let us
for
know.
that one. Zach stumped us.
All right, next we're moving on. Speaking of majors, Brooks. All right, forget about major. Is he even in the winner's circle this year? He's won last time in February of last year, almost a year now. He's been kind of quiet in that regard.
Yeah, so a year ago, I think a lot of this depends on how healthy he is. We saw him. You counted it as a win when he won the match with Bryson.
No.
No.
I'm going to say tour wins.
Here's a guy who can barely bend his knee enough to read putts, but is still in the mix.
He's a gamer.
I think Brooks is the type of guy who's good for at least one win every season.
You're banking it, and I'm
gonna
banking it
bank
too
it,
for that
yeah.
same reason.
Yep.
Yep.
He
I love
just,
that.
unless some major injury catastrophe where he's out for an extended period of time, I think he puts one win on the board every year at minimum.
Yeah. And he's going to be a competitor in those majors. He'll be in the top 5. I mean, at some point.
No doubt.
You know,
No doubt.
throughout
He's always
the
going to
week.
be in the conversation of the majors.
All right, last one. This might be my favorite. Justin Thomas. After 7 years of trying, are we eventually going to get him on the podcast? My number one get in all of life on the podcast. I know Tiger's like unreachable, but you know, JT's my guy.
There he is.
Yeah, we want to make this image happen. I don't know if he's going to be sitting on the table, but what do you think?
I think it's going to happen because when you put your mind to something, it usually happens,
Oh,
Mike.
what a sweet guy.
Mike he's the type of guy who will get in there and put the work in and make something happen.
Workhorse.
And it's so funny. You've told the story here before. Right before JT started winning on tour, and he was just a brand new name. You almost had him on the podcast. You had a
almost had him.
conversation with his father, who was his what do you call it? He was his agent or whatever you want to
was-
call it.
yeah,
His
Manager.
manager. He was his manager at the time, and we were so close. And then he won, and his foot's been on the
Just got
pedal ever
busy.
since.
It
and-
just got, and it was a very polite, you know. It wasn't like we're not interested. It wasn't like a ghost you. It was like, hey, thanks so much. He's really busy right now, but let's circle back.
You know what I got to put the wheels in motion for? You surprised me on my 40th, right?
There it is.
With that custom wedge that
Yep.
they did at the Masters in the tour truck.
You hear it here.
I'll have to put my full weight into somehow getting JT on the show for your 40th.
Well, we are sponsored here by FootJoy and Titleist, so maybe we can work those connections, Frank.
Maybe we will work them hard.
You know what?
You guys heard it. 40 birthday present right there.
You know what? I'm gonna get Big Mike on the show, and Big Mike's got the connection to JT. This is how it's gonna go.
We're gonna get.
We're
this
gonna
done.
get Big Mike on the show first, and we're gonna be like, man, being you had such an amazing time on the Golficity podcast, can you just tell your buddy, you know, just half hour? That's all
Ask
we need.
him what he's doing around early to mid-November this year.
Early to mid any time of the year, and we'll be there.
No, I want this to be a blow out the candles birthday event.
You see? And let me tell you something. That is a podcast interview that I want to do in person.
Okay.
All right?
We'll fly us both
Wherever we gotta do.
somewhere. We'll bring
Go to
Zach.
Jupiter.
Just Mike. We can just fly Mike.
Just me.
We can be over Zoom.
Just Mike and an iPhone. That'll how the whole interview will go.
You know, and I'm telling you guys, you laugh at me about the Rolodex of contacts I have in this with some of the greatest names in the game, but JT's another name I got to get in my phone. So
There you
maybe
go.
we'll hit Big Mike if we get him on the show. Hey, go. Give me those digits.
So let's make Mike's 40th birthday dream come true. He's going to have a birthday party.
Yeah.
One person invited.
10 more months until the 40. Let's get JT there.
We got 10 months to do this. I think we can do it.
Okay.
All right, guys, that's everything we have for you this week. You can get to the show notes by going to golficity.com/episode 411. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel, The Golf Podcast. You can search Golficity Podcast, and there's also a link to it on our main channel. We've been having a lot of fun growing this new channel and just having a lot of fun with it in general. So make sure you guys subscribe over there, or as always, anywhere you're listening to podcasts. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll see everybody again next week.